The other fascinating part about that with Toronto specifically is, with each day it feels like there's more talk about the most likely trade candidates among big name players.
Pascal.
And along with Zach, and even maybe ahead of Zach, and all of those conversations across the national NBA spectrum, Pascal Siakam is that guy. What are you guys thinking right now about? I know we touched on it a little bit in pregame, Will, as far as what Zach can do and offer teams versus what Pascal Siakam can do and offer teams. Mm-hmm. Dave, what do you think Toronto should do with Pascal?
I mean, trade him. I mean, it feels like they're in a mode where they want to rebuild and start over a little bit. I don't know if they're talking about like a full rebuild or something, but they clearly want to start over some things.
Yeah.
And they clearly want to do it around Scotty Barnes. So if that's going to be the case, because Siakam is really good, and if you're saying you don't want to build around this really good player right here and take somebody who's younger, then you got to trade him because you can actually really get something from him. It feels like us talking about Alex Caruso. Honestly, that's what it kind of feels like. Just having that discussion. If it's a player, that of that kind of value that you can get something from because you can still probably be in the same place without this player, then yeah, go ahead and trade him. I don't think it's going to move their needle any kind of way this season. Toronto, if they trade Pascal Siakam, whoever they get back, whether it's just assets, whether it's players or whatever, because they clearly are making a commitment to build around, well, now R.J. Barrett, I think, is included in that as well, and Quigley is included in that as well now too. So those three, you're like, okay, this is what we want to do right here for this season. This is what we're building around, what we're focused on. So whatever assets they get are things that aren't really going to be a concern about this year per se. I think it's more so next year. So I think they're going for assets and probably some picks and see what they can build around these young guys, because I always think that's the case, especially if you're trying to go young. You're trying to look towards the future.
Yeah.
Unless you're telling me we're ready to be a top 4 seed, even though we're this young, then you're getting veterans, on your team. They don't seem to be doing that. You know what I mean? They seem to just be getting the young guys on their squad. So, yeah, I trade him. Wherever he goes, he's going to be very impactful. That dude can play. He is a problem. He's an all-star we're talking about right here. Like, he is super skilled. And whoever gets him, I think, is going to get a really good one, man. Like, you don't hear any problems about Pascal Siakam off the court, at all. He's just a really good basketball player who I think can really impact the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think Siakam is a very good player. He's obviously got flaws, not really a three-point shooting threat. I know he gets him up at decent volume for, a non-primary scorer type, but 32.8% career, 33% this year. Not really somebody that's going to help you with your floor space, and he's got to have the ball in his hands a lot. And so I think that presents some problems as far as what kind of fit he would be on certain teams. I really like the Pacers fit, and I think that's probably the best landing spot for him. But if I'm the Pacers and Siakam's a free agent coming up this year, I've got to know, one, that he's going to re-sign with me if I give you something for him, and two, that I'm comfortable giving him a $50 million a year max contract, because that's what he's going to get. So Siakam is 29. Next year will be his age 30 season. You sign him for 4 years at roughly $50 million per. That's a lot of money for, a 30, 31, 32, 33 age chunk of his career. So I think there's some risk with it. I think a lot of teams probably wouldn't be interested in trading for Siakam because they're not sure if they're going to re-sign him. Maybe they don't have space. Or maybe they feel like they don't need to go trade for him right now because they could just sign him in the offseason. So that's a big difference for me compared to Zach, who's controlled for 3 more years after this year, who is a really good shooter, who is a fine defensive player. I just, again, thinking about this from the Bulls perspective, but I don't really understand why people wouldn't be more excited about Zach, and I don't understand why Siakam seems to be this incredible trade target when there's a lot of questions about his contract and his age and his fit next year and the following years.
I think for the things you said, I think the team that stands out for me is a team like Dallas for Pascal, because it's a no-risk situation more so for Dallas, because Dallas is clearly trying to win. So even if it doesn't work out, you've unloaded certain things, to Toronto, but you've gotten this player to pair with a Kyrie Irving and a Luka Doncic to give you a chance to make a nice run in the West, at least for this season. And it feels like Dallas is kind of one of those teams, once you kind of get there, You want to stay there. You don't want to leave. It's LA, Jerry. No one leaves. It feels like that, with them. But I think that's a good destination, for him. I think it could be a win-win situation for them this year, for a team that's like Toronto that's not trying to win this year, to a team like Dallas who definitely is.
Yeah, it's just he's making a lot of money, so you have to throw a lot of salary, and most teams don't just have like giant amounts of salary, like dead money on their books that they can just ship out in a trade and not lose anything in the form of production. So like if you're Dallas, you got to ship out Tim Hardaway Jr. and then what happens with your spacing? And you probably got to throw like Rashawn Holmes or Grant Williams in there. And like, yeah, that's probably fine. But is Toronto going to do that without a pick? And now you're out all these picks. So it's it's more of a question, I think, when you're talking about a guy who's going to be a free agent. Now, the Knicks just did that with OG, and the assumption is that he's going to re-sign there. So if that's how it is, then go for it.
Sure.
But that, to me, just trading for a free agent or for an expiring contract always has a little bit more risk associated with it.
Sure.
And I think that's why teams are so interested in a guy like Caruso, because he's got this year and next year. Yeah. Like you get a solid run with him. He's making, a really reasonable amount of money, and you don't have to worry about him walking in free agency, but you're also not tied to him forever.
Right, correct. You can get up off of that.
We all silly like the mayor.